Bernie Sanders dropped out of the race, the Bernie Bros go insane, and state governments continue to flex their power. My name is Sean Clinton, and this is the Guide to Freedom Show. Alrighty guys, I hope everyone has had a great week so far. Happy Friday. We have a lot to get to today, so let's not waste time here. And thankfully, it's not going to be, this entire episode is not going to be about the coronavirus stuff. I'm going to actually mention it a little bit at the end over here, but it's going to be more about, kind of, like I said, what state governments are doing instead of like coronavirus numbers. But plus, if you're watching my weekly quarantine edition show, I've been kind of giving updates as the week goes by. But yeah, let's start with Bernie Sanders. So, in case y'all forgot, sometimes I forgot at some points too, is the primary election was still going on, and there was plenty of elections all throughout this past few weeks. So on Tuesday there was the Wisconsin primary election, and of course, as it turns out, Biden swept to victory once again, put a much bigger gap between him and Bernie. So in response to this, Bernie Sanders decided just to drop out because there was honestly no hope for him at that point, because Biden pretty much swept Super Tuesday all the way through. And after that point, you knew that Biden was going to be nominee. But you thought probably Bernie Sanders was going to stick to the end. But now he decided, okay, I'm just going to drop out because there's honestly no point right now. But there is a possibility that he could run a third party. I don't know if that will happen or not, but we shall see what happens then. I'm going to kind of go into details of his campaign and like who Bernie Sanders actually was in terms of his beliefs and everything. But first, let's actually give him a little, like every other candidate that's dropped out over time, except for Adrian because he's awesome. Let's give him a little tribute, send off, and the kind of farewell and all that. So here's that song. So ironically, that's also his theme song for the campaign, so it actually fits. So Bernie, in terms of his candidacy, he actually ran a pretty decent campaign for the most part until the very end when he got the front runner. For some reason, he just completely went. I don't know what he did, but he ran an okay campaign. In terms of the beliefs, it was crappy, but He was, for a while, he was just at the bottom. Nobody ever thought that he would actually be the front runner at a point. But then suddenly, back in January, that he just gained steam because again, he ran a decent kind of campaign. But then suddenly, he just decided I'm going to double down on every stupid belief ever. So he decided, I'm going to double down on my praise of Fidel Castro, Stalin, and everybody. Because, he's never met a dictator he doesn't like, or at least a communist dictator. But, yeah, I don't know, just in terms of I don't know. It was just funny just watching. Like he was front runner. Everybody thought, okay, definitely Bernie's not going to be the nominee, and then it's going to be a sweeping victory for Trump and all that. But then he just completely collapsed on Super Tuesday and everything, which I mean, it was actually probably mostly do with also do with Biden too, because I mean he was collapsing as well. And then he gained steam after South Carolina, and then that's why he's able to sweep all throughout Super Tuesday. In hindsight, this is actually, I think this is good news for the country right here, because it tells you that, okay, people don't want communism in this country. Like what Bernie was saying, that there's this large swath group of people who want to change the American economy, who want communism, socialism, or whatever, and then it's going to be all young people or not. But it turns out the younger, like millennial or Gen Z crowd, voter turnout was utter crap, especially for him. It was utter complete crap, and a lot of people saw that from the beginning that was going to happen. That's why Biden was able to sweep the victory, because a lot more older folks support Biden, and then I guess younger folks support Bernie, but obviously the young people didn't show up for him. Which again, overall, I think it's a really good thing for the country. So our country is not gonna there's not a potential for economists to become the president of the United States. And what that means in terms of like the election itself, because now it's going to be definitely between Biden and Trump at this point. I've been saying for a long time, Biden has a very strong chance against Trump. I think Trump is going to be still come out victory, but I mean it's definitely going to be competitive. That's what I used to say, but now right now, I mean, I can't really make a good prediction what's going to happen in November right now, because just everything that's going on right now with the coronavirus and everything. Our country is in a crisis right now, so I can't really make a good prediction of what I think is going to happen right now. But as soon as this thing is over, I think hopefully when dust settles on this thing, and we'll be back to talking about the election and everything, we'll be able to be able to make a more like accurate, or not really accurate, but more like thought worthy prediction of what's going to happen in November. Let's see. I mean, honestly, if I had to put money on it right now, I would say Trump at this point, just because I don't know. Because in terms of the polling, national polling, Trump is still behind Biden right now. And of course, in national polling, it's fairly accurate for the most part, but you gotta take in mind different states as well. And with this coronavirus stuff, from what the polling says, the vast majority of people in America actually approve of what Trump's been doing in response to the coronavirus. So that's a good thing for him. But we'll see at the end of this crisis. We'll see what happens, and then when the debates start rolling in between Biden and Trump, that's gonna be so hilarious. I can't wait for that. It's just to be, you got Donald Trump, you got Donald Trump, who was a reality TV star who puts his name on stakes against a dead guy. So it's gonna be very entertaining, very entertaining. It's gonna be like the two old Muppets. You guys see the names, but it's gonna be pretty funny. But let's go back to Bernie right here. So Bernie, he was just, I don't know. Again, in terms of the campaign, he ran a pretty okay campaign for the most part. But of course, what really hurt him was his beliefs. Let's just be blunt here. He was a full-blown communist all the way through. He supported the Soviet Union. He praised Fidel Castro, and he supports the dictator, or the leader in Venezuela. I forget the name of him right now. I think it's Maduro. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure it's Maduro. But he praised him, and going saying is right now is that he's never met a communist dictator that he doesn't like, and that's what really hurt him, because he tries to play it off like, oh, I'm just a democratic socialist, like from Denmark or whatnot. Keep in mind, Denmark is not actually a socialist country; it's actually a capitalist country with a social safety net, and in a way within high tax rates. But that's not what Bernie Sanders is calling for. Nowhere near. He's calling for a full nationalization of healthcare and all other industries in this country. So a full-blown communist takeover in the entire country. And of course, that's not going to settle well with anybody in this country, which is, again, a really good thing, a really, really good thing. And even if he were to be the nominee, it was very likely that Trump would have swept a victory, but at the same time, it would have still been kind of scary for him to had a 50-50 chance of becoming the president of the United States. So it's overall, it's a good thing that he's dropped out. But of course, the Bernie Bros have just gone insane over this, because their prospective candidate once again dropped out of the race, lost the election once again. Most likely he'll try to run again in 2024. Third time the charm, I guess. But who knows? He might become the nominee then. We'll see what happens then. But I don't know. The Bernie Bros have just been going insane. There's so many funny videos of them freaking out and everything. So many funny memes and everything. It's been hilarious. But let's see. Another thing that's been I found this funny piece from Ford.com. It's quite hilarious. Right here, it's basically the piece is titled "Jews React with Sadness to Bernie Sanders Dropping Out of the Race, Presidential Race." Because because you didn't know, Bernie Sanders is of Jewish ethnicity. He's not Jewish religiously or anything. He's ethnically Jewish, which I don't know. I don't know. Just in terms of that right there. I think the most important part of Judaism is, of course, the religious part, when you devote your time with God, pray to Him, read Scripture and everything. That's the most important part of Judaism. The ethnicity, the ethnic part of Judaism. You're just by blood Jewish, and that other than that, it's not nowhere as big a deal as the religious part of it. But of course, being that Bernie Sanders was ethnically Jewish, he was tried out as, okay, he's going to be the first Jewish president. Keep in mind, though, at the same time, while he's also a completely devout atheist. His top supporters are completely anti-Semites. Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and everything. He absolutely cannot stand Israel. He supports the Palestinian Authority over there, and so yeah. Other than he being ethnically Jewish, in terms of other roots to Judaism, he doesn't have any. The only thing is by blood. But here's a piece from Foreign Magazine about this, and here's what that says. Senator Bernie Sanders, the Vermont independent who pushed progressive issues and outlasted nearly all his opponents on the strength of a tremendous small amount of fundraising, has dropped out of the presidential race, clearing the field for former Vice President Joe Biden to serve as the presumptive Democratic nominee. Sanders' campaign had a lively and sometimes controversial life on social media. So-called Bernie Bros on Twitter and beyond were accused of hyping up their favored candidate to point of online bullying. Yeah, Sanders was also meme-ified by his supporters in more ways than one. such as in a fake GIF where he spoofs Donald Trump at a campaign rally, or an extremely popular spoof on one of his campaign videos, which is, I think, the one they're talking about. Is like, where he comes out saying, I once again ask for your financial help, or something like that. There's so many funny memes about that too. But here it continues right here. Although Sanders underperformed among Jewish voters and donors, because, I mean, again, his strongest supporters are all anti-Semites, he had a strong core support of within the Jewish community, as well as people who supported other candidates, but still took pride on his historic campaign. Here are some of the latest reactions on Twitter from Jews reacting to the most successful Jewish president in campaign American history. This is from Sarah Silverman. Well, I'm heartbroken about Bernie. In all this darkness, he made me believe that people together could be the light. He continues to be an inspiration. He'll never stop fighting for us. Thank you, Bernie. For me, you're right. You're right up there with Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers, okay. It's from a woman named Marissa Moss. My little boy loves Bernie. It's hard to underestimate what it meant to him to see a Jewish person up there, or what he means to millions of undeserved, underrepresented folks in this country. I snapped this pic in February because I wanted to remember the hope. Again, like, honestly, if you didn't know that he was ethnically Jewish, like, if someone never told you that, you would never know that he was that, because he never actually went out and tried to support, like, the Jewish community. Like, again, like, he was completely anti-Israel. His supporters are anti-Semites, and he supported, like, pretty some anti-Semitic policies as well. So, I mean, it's understandable why the Jewish population overall wasn't fond of him, especially the more religious part of the Jewish community. Just so weird seeing so many people just absolutely freaking out over this right here. But I don't know. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens over this thing. But I mean, I'm going to continue on with talking about Bernie Sanders and to get to other stuff. But first, you got to go over to YouTube or the God of Freedom blog to get the rest of this episode. So not only we get the full entire episode, you get, we'll talk about things what the state government's been doing in response to the coronavirus. And also be talking about Good Friday and go over the book of John, which finished in John chapter 11 today. Remember, you can find me on your favorite podcast listening sites like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Otherwise, I'll see y'all next week. This is the God of Freedom Show. Alrighty, so let's continue on right here with the reactions. So, this is like kind of all on Twitter right here, but here's something that President Trump put out in response to Sanders dropping out. Here's what he said. Excuse me. Bernie Sanders is out. Thank you to Elizabeth Warren. If not for her, Bernie would have won almost every state on Super Tuesday. This ended just like the Democrats and DNC wanted, same as the crooked Hillary fiasco. The Bernie people should come to the Republican Party. Trade. Yes. You gotta love Trump sometimes, but I don't know. It's obviously he wanted Bernie to become the nominee more than Biden. I guess because he sees Biden as more of a difficult opponent than Bernie. But it's still hilarious. But let's see what other things been on Twitter right here. there's actually a lot of like trolling right here, saying like, Bernie, like someone said, like, Bernie won't fight for his people, like even when you donate a bunch of money to him. So come over to the Trump train 2020. That's pretty funny. So apparently there is some like Bernie people supporters like now saying they're going to vote for Trump, which is going to be hilarious right there. I don't know, if Bernie does run third party, that's definitely going to be better for Trump than just being just between Biden and Trump, because they'll definitely take away a lot of the a lot of the far left support from Sanders or from Biden. So we'll see what happens with that. Let's see what other tweets we got here. I don't know, just it's all other stuff, and obviously, I don't know. We'll see what exactly happens then. But yeah, let's continue on. I guess with the starting with coronavirus stuff. So I'm not gonna give like kind of updates on the numbers and everything, because I've been doing that weekly with this with the quarantine edition of the show. But one thing that's been kind of eye-opening to see is that certain state governments have been now using this as an opportunity to flex their power and to run over constitutional rights and everything, and just become complete tyrants and dictators almost. I mean, for example, like here's something from the blaze right here, but the Michigan governor is Governor Whitmer. And the piece says right here, Michigan Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer bans travel between households statewide. So you can't leave your household and go to someone else's house. That's now illegal in Michigan for some reason. So here's the kind of what the piece says right here. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer has directed residents to remain in their homes and to stop traveling between residents in the state. Whitmer's stay-at-home order, which rolled out on Thursday, prohibits travel between Michigan residences beginning Saturday morning. The order is suspected to remain in effect until May 1st. The original order was in effect through April 13th. Michiganders will only be permitted to visit residences within the state if they are set to care for a relative or elderly friend. All public and private gatherings of any size are prohibited, Whitmer said during a Thursday news conference. People can still leave the house for outdoor activities. Whitmer pointed out that any Michiganders engaged in outdoor activities, such as exercising or dog walking, must continue to maintain social distancing measures of at least 6 feet. Other permitted activities include funerals, so as long as there are no more than 10 people present, visiting nursing homes if applicable, and visitations complying with court-ordered child custody arrangements. So, that's just insane. Like, you can't go over to someone's, like a friend's house during this or something like that, and so basically, this order is banning people from public and private gatherings. So, like, you can be on your private property, like, have a little gathering, but that would be illegal now in Michigan, which is utterly insane. Utterly and freaking insane. First of all, it's my private property. I mean, honestly, the government doesn't have the right to come over and dictate what I do on private property. I mean, just in the Constitution, you have the saying in the Constitution is basically no one should be deprived of life, liberty, or property without the due process. This is not due process right here. Due process is through a court, trial and everything. So I mean, this is utterly insane, and this is not the only. It's not the only governor that's been doing that. I mean, California is pretty bad as well. I mean, it's probably the worst because now, like, even if you step foot outside, you have the risk of being fined by them, or in like there's like neighbors tattling on each other and everything. And like there was this other thing where people were just going parking by the beach, basically eating in their cars, just like sitting in their car by themselves, nowhere near other people, and just watching the sunset, which is something I would do if the beach were closed. But the police came in and fined them and for it, and they got in trouble for it. So it's utterly insane. So another thing that happened was that the Ohio incident in Ohio that happened. Basically, this is from the county health commissioner of Jeff Cooper. I don't know where exactly in Ohio this is at. I'm letting it's statewide, but they're now banning parades for. Basically, what's been going on is that there's been teachers go around neighborhoods, kind of supporting students, and everything, and also people have been doing this for children like who have birthdays and won't be able to celebrate with their friends. Like there was actually one that came into our neighborhood a couple days back, which is really cool to see. Really cool to see. But in this place in town in Ohio or whatever, they're not stopping that. So here's what kind of is said right here. Stop the parades. Such events that feature a line of vehicles filing past a child celebrating a birthday, for example, need to remain in line with the governor's stay-at-home order, which states, among other things, that people should leave home only for essential activities. County Health Commissioner Jeff Cooper said, parades do not meet the intention of the order. They need to be discontinued. It's not fun to say, but that's the reality of where we are right now. Okay, tell me what exactly is the risk of you're in your car, you're not in contact with anybody else. You're in your car just driving by, hugging people, waving at celebrating the kid's birthday. What exactly is the risk from that? And the people put out risks like, oh, they could be in a car accident, and then they'll take away first responders from treating people who are affected with coronavirus. It's so dumb. Like, and this, I can't believe that people are actually defending this kind of behavior from the government right here. Like, it's not defendable. It's not justifiable at all for the government to ransack over basic liberties. And the whole idea, like, I'm not comfortable with the idea, like, with the government saying one thing is essential, but another thing is not. Like, they'll say that, church is not essential, but getting an abortion is essential. Like, how does that make sense right there? How is killing a child an essential activity, but going to church and then worshiping God and everything, that's not essential at all? And thankfully, for majority of people, we do have online services. That's thankful, but still, like, I'm still not comfortable with the government making that decision right there. Like, seriously. But I don't know. It's all ridiculous. It's all ridiculous stuff, and it's not the only thing that's happening too. There was a woman arrested in Pennsylvania for simply just going on a drive, but the Pennsylvania police said that's not essential or anything. So I don't know, this has become more about them flexing their power than about actually helping people during this crisis. And like I said with California, even if you just go for a walk now, that's not allowed too. Thankfully, here in Georgia, we do have the stay-at-home order, but we can still go out, go for exercise, go for a drive, or whatever. And the police don't do anything. Won't do anything because Governor Kemp, at least he's a conservative and he is a constitutionalist, so he doesn't want to override the Constitution or anything. Another thankful thing I got is for President Trump. He's been pushed by the media, by Democrats, to do a national lockdown of the entire country. And he said, okay, this thing called the Constitution, I can't really do that. I can't override state authorities. And he's totally right. I mean, there's a reason why he left it up to the states to decide whether or not they want to do the stay at home order or whatever. And that was a good idea because, of course, there's some states that are not really getting anything. I don't like at least, like for example, Alaska is like pretty much the bottom list of number of infections right now. And then a lot of the least populated states, they don't have the stay at home order because they're not really getting any cases. So there's no point of them doing that. So it's really good on President Trump to actually, leave it up to the governors of each state to decide that, not just have a national lockdown. And another thing that they're really pushing him to do is forcibly shut down all restaurants and grocery stores. And I'm like, okay, how are people supposed to eat? Okay, it just doesn't make sense. But thankfully, I think that is actually just a trap Democrats are trying to set for Trump right there because, for years they've been saying, oh, he's a dictator, he's authoritarian, even though he's not, at the least, he's not once acted like that. But now they're pushing him to act like an authoritarian dictator so they can use that against him in November. Which, I mean, this is what this all is about, honestly. I mean, in terms of, because honestly, let's be real here. Let's be real. If Hillary Clinton were president, and when this came around, I have doubts that we would have heard about it. I have my doubts, because go back to the swine flu pandemic back in 2009, 2010, around there, when that started spreading. It was just a passing story in the news, and the reason for that was because Obama was president, and there is no chance at all, if Hillary Clinton were president or a Democrat were president right now, that it would have been the big national story that it is right now. There's no way possible. I'm sorry, it just isn't. It's the reason why it is a big story, why the media is hyping up as possible. Democrats, by the way, the media is hyping it up as big as possible. It's because Trump is president. It's because a Republican is in power right now. That's pretty much the only reason. If a Democrat were in power, there's no way it would be like this. So it's just all about electoral politics for the Democrats right now. They want this to be as bad for President Trump as they possibly can. But hopefully, thankfully, President Trump hasn't really fell for that, and I hope he never does. And I hope he continues on the path, not ransacking over constitutional rights and the rights of each state and everything. And eventually, hopefully, he'll start suggesting that we need to really reopen the economy. And that needs to happen too soon. Also, because we can't be closed like this for months or years on end. We simply can't. Because people want to say we need to be closed all the way to next year, because a supposed second wave is going to be coming in the fall time. So no, we don't need to be closed all the way to then. I'm sorry, we just don't need. We need to be open by when we get to April 30th. We need to be opening back up. Simple as that. And if that second wave does come, I think we're going to be more prepared than we were last time around. So there'll be no reason why we need to be, closing down everything again. Because my bet is that we're going to have, the treatments in hand. I don't know about vaccine yet. We'll definitely have good treatments, and there'll definitely be a start of a herd immunity with it. People who have gotten it before who are now become immune to the strain. Everything, so that'll definitely be good as well. But I don't know, we'll see what happens with it. But yes, all I have to say about that for right now. Alrighty, so yeah, today is special day especially for Christianity. It is Passover for Jews as well, but for Christianity specifically, today is Good Friday, and Good Friday is basically the day where we remember, it's basically the day where Jesus was died on the cross. And what's so significant about it is that with Passover, Passover is basically a celebration of getting out of bondage of slavery from Egypt, and then being delivered to the promised land. That's what Passover celebration is. And so then in hindsight too, with Jesus, with him we are delivered out of bondage of sin into eternity. So it's a very cool parallel right there. And so, and it gets, with Judaism back in the day, I don't know if they still do this today, because definitely worlds have changed with that. But how sin was atoned back with Judaism is that there was a lamb sacrifice they had to do. They had to shed the blood of a lamb, and then that would be basically that the lamb would take the punishment that sinners deserve. And now that's how people are basically, sins are forgiven and atoned for and everything. And they used to have to do that all the time, like every Passover and everything. And what's so significant about Jesus now is that he was the final lamb sacrifice that they had to do. We had to do on Passover. That was it. After that, our sins were atoned for eternity, that's what's so amazing about Christ and all that. So, and it is really cool, kind of how it does very much parallel how Passover goes too. So it's really cool stuff. Alrighty, so let's get into some scripture right here. So today we're actually going to be finishing up John chapter 11 today. So last week we did the first good chunk of it, which is about the raising of Lazarus from the dead. So today we're going to be finishing up chapter 11. Alright, so remember you can follow me along if you want, and I'll read the New Living Translation. Many of the people who were with Mary believed in Jesus when they saw this happen, but some went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. Then the leading priests and Pharisees called the high council together. "What are we going to do?" they asked. "This man certainly performs many miraculous signs. If we allow him to go on like this, soon everyone will believe in him. Then the Roman army will come destroy both our temple and our nation." Which is that's what's so interesting about this, because I have no doubt in my mind that they actually knew that Jesus was the Son of God, that he was the Messiah that they were promised. But the problem is they didn't want to let go of their current livelihood, that they were so content with it that anybody who was going to be a threat to that had to be destroyed. So, and that's why they wanted Jesus to be killed. Scaphias, who was the high priest at the time, said, "You don't know what you're talking about. You don't realize that it's better for you that one man should die for the people than for the whole nation to be destroyed." He did not say this on his own. As the high priest at the time, he was led to prophecy that Jesus would die for the entire nation, and not only for that nation, but to bring together, all the children of God scattered around the world. So from that time on, the Jewish leaders began to plot Jesus' death, which that tells you right there that Scaphias, again, that he believed, he knew Jesus was the Messiah, the Son of God, and that he knew why he was on earth. That he knew that he had to die for the entire nation. And whether or not, obviously, that's what it says right there. It's pretty interesting right there. As a result, Jesus stopped his public ministry among people and left Jerusalem. he went to a place near the wilderness, to the village of Ephraim, I guess, and stay there while with his disciples. It was now almost time for the Jewish Passover celebration, and many people from all over the country arrived in Jerusalem 7 days early, so they could go through the purification ceremony before Passover began. They kept looking for Jesus, but as they stood around the temple, they said to each other, "What do you think? He won't come for Passover, will he?" Meanwhile, the leading priests and Pharisees had publicly ordered that anyone seeing Jesus must report it immediately so they could arrest him. Alright, so that's end of chapter 11 right there. So it's very, very interesting stuff right there. And, like I said, I'm pretty sure they knew who Jesus was ultimately. But again, they were so content with their lives at the point that they didn't want to change it. So it's very, very interesting stuff right there. So next week we're going to be on John chapter 12. So yeah, we're rolling through this book right here. Sort of eventually get through. I don't know what I'm gonna do after this, but we'll see when I finish it. Alrighty, let's see here. Alrighty, so what else? Honestly, I think that's all I have for this episode. I got really nothing else to talk about. So I'll be back here next week with other crazy stuff, and be sure to tune in Monday for my final episode of the quarantine edition of the God and Freedom Show. Otherwise, I'll see y'all next week. My name is Sean Clinton, and this is the God and Freedom Show. If you enjoyed this episode of the God and Freedom Show, hit that like button and follow the page to get more content. You can also find me on your favorite podcast listening sites like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Thank you for listening or watching.